Good morning, students, and welcome to the second week of our online class. This class is for Matthium 4, and the subject is Listening and Speaking. The code is E31203. We will continue the unit Extreme Living from last week. What can you see in the picture? We can see 3 men in a boat. It probably is a fishing boat because we can see the net here, and supplies. So probably they have supplies for the day, their food, snacks, and drinking water. And so this seems to be like a mangrove jungle. The content for today's lesson includes people of the mangrove jungle. This is going to be a video. Then we're going to do a reading a magazine article. The remotest inhabited island on Earth. Then we're going to see a small clip. Speaking, giving your opinion. We are going to see a CLIL video. CLIL, which stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. It will be on global warming, hot topics. Then we are going to do past simple versus past continuous. Next, we're going to listen to a radio program, Lucky Escapes. And finally, a review of today's work. In vocabulary, we will do culture and habitats. Words from the text and prepositional phrases. In the language focus, we will do present simple and present continuous, a continuation from what we did last week, and the past simple and past continuous. With the aims of this lesson, I can understand the lives of people in a mangrove jungle. I can understand an article about a remote island. I can give my opinion if I like the towns and cities or the countryside. I can understand the effects of global warming. I can understand a conversation about a radio program. And I can describe and understand events of the past. Let's do Discover Culture, people of the mangrove jungle. Look at the photo of the mangrove jungle. How do you think it is different from a normal jungle? Okay, we will answer these questions after we see the video. But we can see the pictures here. This is a mangrove jungle, picture of a mangrove jungle, and this of a normal jungle. In which one do you think it would be easier to live? Why? Consider transport, food, and climate. What is a mangrove? A mangrove is a tree which grows in tropical coastal areas. These trees are notable for their roots, which unusually can be seen above ground. So this is the mangrove jungle and this is the normal one.
People of the mangrove jungle. This is India, the 7th largest country in the world. It's a country with a huge population, a fast-growing economy, and many regional differences. Here, in this part of India, the river Ganges runs into the sea. This area is covered by an enormous mangrove forest, with 100 islands called the Sundarbans. The island of Bali, in the Sundarbans, is home to a close community who live and work side by side and support each other in their work and personal lives. Life isn't easy here. People depend on a few rice fields and the fish they catch around the island. This is Bhagirat, a fisherman from Bali. On a recent fishing trip with his sons, they caught a lot of fish, some for the family and some to sell to their neighbours. While they were going home, they saw the sea level rising. Years ago, the water flooded the village. It destroyed homes and ruined the rice fields. It was a disaster. This time, the men in the community knew they needed to build a high wall to keep the water out and protect their homes and the rice fields. During the night, the water level rose, and the men watched. While they were watching, someone noticed a small break in the wall. Bhagirat and the other men ran to fix it. They worked for 3 hours. They were tired, but they couldn't stop. When the water finally stopped rising, the men went home. Bhagirat's family were waiting for him when he arrived. They ate fish from the morning's fishing trip for dinner. They ended the day together, happy and safe.
Now that we've seen the video, we can answer the questions. How is the mangrove jungle different from a jungle? There is a lot of water in the mangrove jungle, so it makes it easier to move around, probably by boat. In which one would it be easier to live? Why? Consider transport, food, and climate. It might be easier to live in a jungle because there is water for drinking and washing, and the transport on the river would be easy by boat. There might be fish in the river, which is good for food. However, it might be more humid in a jungle, so this would be uncomfortable.
Now let's move on to discover culture. We have seen the movie of the mangrove jungle. Mark the sentences true or false. In India, the river Ganges runs into the sea. Okay, we can do this on the template because it's a true and false exercise. So, okay, we've watched the video. Are the sentences true or false? Number 1. In India, the river Ganges runs into the sea. True. Number 2. There are 1,000 islands in the Sundarbans. False. There are more than 1,000 islands. Next, one of these islands is called Bali. Yes, the video is about the island of Bali. Life is quite easy there. False. Very difficult. And number 5, the people live off rice, fish, and potatoes. Okay, fish and rice is correct, but we didn't see anything about potatoes. So, false. Let's check our answers. Well done. Okay. Let's move on to exercise 4. Watch the second half of the video. Put this information into the correct order. Okay, these are some of the sentences. We need to put them in the correct order. Let's read them. They decided to build a high wall to protect their homes. They ate the fish. They saw the sea level rise. They noticed a break in the wall. They worked for 3 hours to fix the break. They caught a lot of fish. They remembered that their village flooded years ago. I think, according to the movie, this would be number 1. They caught a lot of fish. Next, number 2 would be they saw the sea level rise. Correct. I think that was the order. Number 3, they remembered that their village flooded years ago. Number 4, they decided to build a high wall to protect their homes. Number 5, they worked for 3 hours to fix the break. Next, they noticed the break in the wall. I think this would be 5, and this would be 6. They worked for 3 hours to fix the break. And finally, we see that they eat fish. The story about Bhagirath. So let's read in order. They caught a lot of fish. They saw the sea level rise. They remembered that their village flooded years ago. They decided to build a high wall to protect their homes. They noticed a break in the wall. They worked for 3 hours to fix the break. They ate the fish. So that is the order of the video. Let's check our answers. Okay, well done. Okay, let's move on. Exercise 5. Watch the video again. Read exercise 1 and 2 again. Are the answers the same now? How do the images show the positive and negative side of life in the mangrove jungle? Let's move on to exercise 6. Test your memory. These sentences describe different images in the video, but each one has a mistake. Correct the false information. I think we can work on this in the templates. Correct the false information. They are dry rice fields. They are dry rice fields. There are wet rice fields. There are 4 men on the boat. No, there are 3 men on the boat. We see a half moon. I think we see a full moon. And number 4, there's a man carrying a lantern on his head. No, there's a man carrying a lantern in his hand. Okay, let's check our answers. There are wet rice fields. There are 3 men on the boat. We see a full moon, and there's a man carrying a lantern in his hand. Let's check. Well done. Okay. Let's move on to exercise 7. Watch the video again and check your mistakes. Choose the best summary. What is the meaning of the word summary? Summary would be like telling the story in its basic form, not every detail. So a summary is telling a story in brief. A brief means a short version. So, life is okay in the mangroves if you are careful. Life is very hard in the mangroves. Next, life is easy and relaxed in the mangroves. So the best answer will be, life is very hard in the mangroves. The first one is not correct. Life is okay in the mangroves if you are careful. We are careful, but we can't, have nature does what it wants. We can't have a control with nature. It was about the flooding, so I don't think this would be a correct summary. Next, life is easy and relaxed in the mangroves. It is not at all relaxed, it is hard work. So the best answer will be, life is very hard in the mangroves. Let's check our answers. Well done. So that's the correct summary. Okay, let's move on to the final, your turn. This you can discuss. We can do this when we come back into the classroom. Your turn. Work with a partner. Is there any part of your country like the mangroves? Is there any area surrounded by a lot of water? Would you like to live there? Why? Why not? There are lots of towns on the river, and they are sometimes flooded, so I wouldn't like to live there. So this is an example about living close to the water.
Let's move on to the reading. A magazine article. The remotest inhabited island on Earth.
Reading a magazine article. Work with a partner. Look at the photo and answer the questions. Where do you think this place is? And number 2, what do you think is special about it? The remotest inhabited island on Earth. So this seems to be somewhere off the coast of Africa. Read the article and check your answers. Let's listen first to the reading.
Listen to the article. The remotest inhabited island on Earth. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, more than 4,000 kilometers from the nearest land, is the remotest inhabited island on the planet. It is also a volcanic island. To get there, you need to travel for 5 or 6 days on a ship from Cape Town in South Africa. Tristan da Cunha is a British territory, named after the Portuguese explorer who discovered the island. The official language is English, but London is almost 10,000 kilometres away. The British monarch is the head of state, and they use British pounds as their currency. The island is home to 80 families, about 250 people in total. The island is only 10 kilometres long, and there is one town with only one school. This is the only place on the island with an internet connection. In October 1961, the island's volcano erupted, and the whole population went to live in the UK. They got jobs and new homes, but they didn't like the lifestyle there and missed their life on the island. They found it very hard to live in a society where money is the most important thing. So, in November 1962, they returned to Tristan da Cunha. They were happier without television, cars, and the stress of modern life.
Fact: Queen Mary Peak, the volcano in the middle of the island, is 2,000 meters high, and it's active.
Read the article again and complete the information. Let's read the article once again. This time we will read it for ourselves so that we can check our answers. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, more than 4,000 kilometers from the nearest land, is the remotest inhabited island on the planet. It is also a volcanic island. To get there, you need to travel for 5 or 6 days on a ship from Cape Town in South Africa. Tristan da Cunha is a British territory, named after the Portuguese explorer who discovered the island. The official language is English, but London is almost 10,000 kilometers away. The British monarch is the head of state, and they use British pounds as their currency. The island is home to 80 families, about 250 people in total. The island is only 10 kilometers long, and there is one town with only one school. This is the only place on the island with an internet connection. In October 1961, the island's volcano erupted, and the whole population went to live in the UK. They got jobs and new homes, but they didn't like the lifestyle there and missed their life on the island. They found it very hard to live in a society where money is the most important thing. So in November 1962, they returned to Tristan da Cunha. They were happier without television, cars, and the stress of modern life. Fact: Queen Mary Peak, the volcano in the middle of the island, is 2,000 meters high and it's active. So it's active means that it can erupt again. Let's go back to the questions. Okay, now we have read the article. Let's complete the information. The official language is English. The approximate distance from London in kilometers would be 10,000. 10,000 kilometers. The number of families that live on this island, 80. The length of island in kilometers is 10 kilometers. The number of schools, just 1. Month and year that the volcano erupted, it was in October 1961. Okay, let's check our answers. Well done. So sometimes reading the article again helps you understand clearly the reading. Let's move on to prepositional phrases. Find the phrases in the article and complete them using in or on. Okay, so the first one has been done for us. On Earth. The middle. In the middle. The planet. On the planet. Ship. On a ship. Total. In total. And on the island. So we will use on Earth, in the middle, on the planet, on a ship, in total, on the island. Let's check answers. Well done, all correct. Okay, this is what we will do when we are back in the classroom. But in the meantime, we can just see what we have to look for. Work with a partner. Compare the life on the island like Bali and Tristan da Cunha. How are they similar? The islands like Bali will be the mangrove jungle in India, and Tristan da Cunha is the island close to in the Atlantic Ocean, close to Africa, Cape Town. Next, these are some of the answers, suggested answers. They are both islands and they are small communities. Okay, something bad happened on both islands. The volcano erupted on Tristan da Cunha and there was a flood on the island of Bali. So both these places are difficult postings because they have to worry about nature and what happens in life.
Now let's move on to speaking, giving your opinion.
Watch the teenagers in the video. How many of them like the countryside, like the towns or cities, and like both? So let's listen to the video and what the speakers talk about.
Which do you prefer? Towns and cities or the countryside?
I prefer the countryside. It's quiet and peaceful and really beautiful. I love going into the woods and looking for animals. If you're very quiet, you can see a lot.
Oh, I don't know. I love big cities, but I also love the countryside. I think cities are great for indoor activities, like visiting museums or seeing concerts. But the countryside is great for outdoor activities, like horse riding and hiking.
I live in a small town, but I would love to live in the country. Everyone knows you and your problems in a small town.
I prefer the city. I love going there to shop and see concerts. There aren't a lot of shops or concerts in the country. It's a little boring.
I prefer the country because you can go for walks and ride your bike in the fresh air. The air in the city is dirty and unhealthy.
It smells really awful.
I like living in a city because there's a lot to do. You can go to a different park or neighborhood every day.
Which do you prefer? Towns and cities or the countryside?
So how many of the teenagers liked the countryside? I think there were 3 that liked the countryside. How many like the towns and cities? 2 of them. And how many liked both? Just 1. So 6 students gave their opinion about whether they liked the towns and cities or the countryside. Well done, okay? Exercise 2 is about you. Which do you prefer? Towns and cities or the countryside? Ask and answer with your partner. So we can do this once we are back in the classroom. But I think most of the students will like the towns and cities. Let's move on to exercise 3. Listen to Mark and Kate talking about their town. What places do they talk about?
Listen to the conversation.
Do you live near the school, Mark? No, I live in Chesterton. Do you know it? Yes, I live there too. I think it's a great place to live. Oh, I don't think so. Nothing ever happens, and there's nothing to do. It's boring. Well, I don't agree. There are lots of things to do. What about the sports centre and the youth club? Maybe, but all my friends live here in town, and I can't go out with them in the evening. Okay, perhaps you're right. That is a problem. But I reckon Chesterton is healthier than town. The air, you mean? Yes, I suppose so. I like taking my dog for walks in the country. You see, maybe living in a village isn't all bad. Okay, perhaps you're right.
Complete the conversation with the useful language. Okay, so now we listen to Mark and Kate talking about their town. Use the useful language. I don't think so, or I think, maybe, but, I reckon, I agree, I don't agree, yes, I suppose so, okay, perhaps you're right. Okay, let's complete the information here. Do you live near the school, Mark? No, I live in Chesterton. Do you know it? Yes, I live there too. I think it's a great place to live. And Mark replies, I don't think so. I don't think so. Nothing ever happens, and there's nothing to do. It's boring. Then Kate replies, well, I don't agree. There are lots of things to do. What about the sports center and the youth club? And then Mark replies, maybe, but all my friends live in town, and I can't go out with them in the evening. So maybe, but. And then Kate replies, okay, perhaps you're right. Perhaps you're right. That is a problem, but I suppose Chesterton is healthier than town. I suppose. But I reckon. But I reckon. Yes, that will go there. And the air, you mean? Yes, I suppose so. I suppose so. I like taking my dog for walks in the country. Kate says, you see, maybe living in the village isn't all bad. Okay, perhaps you're right. Okay, let's check our answers. Okay, they're all correct. Let's just practice the conversation once more. Do you live near the school, Mark? No, I live in Chesterton. Do you know it? Yes, I live there too. I think it's a great place to live. I don't think so. Nothing ever happens there. And there's nothing to do. It's boring. Well, I don't agree. There are lots of things to do. What about the sports center and the youth club? Maybe, but all my friends live here in town, and I can't go out with them in the evening. Kate says, okay, perhaps you're right. That is a problem. But I reckon Chesterton is healthier than town. Mark replies, the air, you mean? Yes, I suppose so. I like taking my dog for walks in the country. Kate, you see, maybe living in a village isn't all bad. And Mark says, okay, perhaps you're right. So this was the conversation between Kate and Mark. Listen again and check your answers. Okay, I think we don't need to do this. Let's move on to exercise 6. This is about your turn. When we come back to the classroom, we could probably do this. Work with a partner. Practice the conversation in exercise 4. That is this conversation between Kate and Mark. So we can role play with Kate and Mark. Okay, let's move on to exercise 7. In exercise 7, we can also do this once we are back in the classroom, but we can just see and review it before that. Work with a partner. Prepare a conversation like the one in exercise 4. Use the photos below and the useful language. Practice the conversation with your partner. So when we come back to the classroom, we can group ourselves in pairs and start doing this exercise. Living in a city. That is the first picture. And going to a big school. So we can think about a conversation about living in the city and going to a big school.
In Discovery Education, we are going to see a CLIL video. What does CLIL stand for? Content and Language Integrated Learning. We are going to see hot topics, something about global warming. Learn about the greenhouse effect. Why is the Earth getting hotter? What happens to the oceans? What happens to the water?
Hot topics. Our planet is getting warmer every year. But why? When we burn fossil fuels such as coal or oil, we pollute the air with greenhouse gases. These gases trap heat inside the atmosphere. The main greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide. The Earth is getting hotter because there is too much carbon dioxide in the air. As a result, oceans get warmer too. That's a big problem for our environment.
Take a look at this. It's a bottle of club soda that we've kept at room temperature. This is a bottle of club soda that we've kept on ice. Now watch what happens when we open them both at the same time. Look at the bubbles. There are a lot more bubbles coming out of the warm bottle than the one that's cooler. The same thing happens in the ocean. The cool ocean can hold more carbon dioxide dissolved than the warm ocean. So as the world gets warmer, the ocean gets warmer, more carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, and that makes the greenhouse effect stronger, and the world gets warmer and the ocean gets warmer.
All that carbon dioxide changes the ocean's chemistry too. It makes the water more acidic. A lot of sea life, like coral reefs and fish, can't survive in warm acidic water. So what can we do about it?
Now that we've seen the video, we can try and answer the questions. Learn about the greenhouse effect. Why is the Earth getting hotter? The Earth is getting hotter because there is too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What happens to the oceans? Because the ocean is getting warmer, more carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. What happens to the water? The release of carbon dioxide from the water makes the water acidic. A lot of sea life, like coral reefs and fish, can't survive in warm, acidic water. Now we move on to language focus. We will be doing past simple versus past continuous.
Complete the examples from the listening on page 12 and then complete the rules and choose the correct words in the box. Let's do this in the template. One morning he went jogging. While he was, this is the exercise with was and were. While he was jogging, he got lost. He went running and listening to music. Nope. He was running and listening to music. Number 4, he something see where he was going. He didn't see where he was going. How long was he lost for? And was someone looking for him? So we are using past simple here in this exercise. Let's check our answers. Well done, all correct. So students, we use the past simple to talk about finished actions in the past. We use the past continuous to talk about actions in progress in the past. Next, we use when before the past simple, and we use while before the past continuous. Let's check if our answers are correct. So in this exercise, we learn about how to use the past simple and past continuous. Once again, past simple to talk about finished actions, past continuous to talk about actions still in progress but in the past. Next, we use when before past simple, and we use while for the past continuous. So these are the grammar rules. Let's check it. Okay, so these are the grammar rules that you have to remember. Let's move on to exercise 2. Choose the correct verbs to complete the sentences. Number 1. Sam was jogging when he got lost. Okay, next. When. So this will be, I was watching the news when I saw an interesting story. Next, when the helicopter found him, a lot of people were looking for him. So these are sentences basically that are using the past continuous along with the past simple. So they may be a little complex, but if you understand the meaning of the first part and second part, you're able to understand if the action is being continued or is in progress in the past, then we can use the, if it's in progress, then we can use the past continuous. For example, in the first part, Sam was jogging when he got lost. Next one, I was watching the news when I saw an interesting story. Number 3, when the helicopter found him, a lot of people were looking for him. In other words, when the helicopter found the man that was lost, other people were still looking for him. So these sentences have both the past simple and the past continuous. Next, number 4. When he ran out of water, he was still trying to find the ranch. Okay. Number 5. It wasn't raining when Sam started to run. And the last one, his sunglasses. He lost his sunglasses while he was walking in the outback. So all these sentences are from the story that we did last week about the man that got lost in the outback in Australia. So let's check our answers. Well done. Okay, let's just read them once through. Sam was jogging when he got lost. I was watching the news when I saw an interesting story. When the helicopter found him, a lot of people were looking for him. Number 4, when he ran out of water, he was still trying to find the ranch. Next, it wasn't raining when Sam started his run. Number 6, he lost his sunglasses while he was walking in the outback. Okay, let's go on. In exercise 3, rewrite the sentences in 2 different ways. Use when or while. In the first example, Peter was walking in the forest. He got lost. So, if we begin with while Peter was walking in the forest, comma, he got lost. Or the second way of using it with connecting the sentences with the word while. So Peter was walking in the forest when he got lost. So while and when are like connectors that connect two separate or two sentences. For example, the first one, we use while Peter was walking in the forest, he got lost. And we can also use when Peter was walking in the forest when he got lost. So there are two ways of joining these sentences. Let's look at number 2. We were driving. A dog ran in front of our car. So if we begin with while, we can connect these two sentences with while we were driving, comma, a dog ran in front of our car. Or the second way, we were driving when a dog ran in front of our car. Now in the second example, there is no comma. It reads along fine. But when we use while in the beginning, then we have to use a comma after driving. So while we were driving, comma, the dog ran in front of our car. Or the second way of doing this, joining the sentences with when, we were driving when a dog ran in front of our car. Okay, let's check our answers. Exercise 3. Okay, so the first one, while we were driving, comma, a dog ran in front of our car. So while we were driving, and then comma, a dog ran in front of our car. But in the second way, we were driving when a dog ran in front of our car. There is no comma. It's a complete sentence. Let's go on to number 3. She was looking at the map. She dropped her camera. So if you use the first way, while she was looking at the map, comma, then small s here, she dropped her camera. And the second way would be, she was looking at the map when she dropped her camera. All complete with no commas, and the s becomes small because it's not a new sentence. It's a continuation. So, while she was looking at her map, she dropped her camera. And the second form of joining the two sentences, she was looking at the map when she dropped her camera. Notice no commas in the second example, but in the first example, there has to be a comma. Let's go on to number 4. I was reading the compass. Julia was putting on sunscreen. So, in the first way, while I was reading the compass, comma, Julia was putting on sun cream. Or the second way, I was reading the compass when Julia was putting on sun cream. Okay, the first sentence has a comma. While I was reading the compass, comma, Julia was putting on sun cream. And the second way, I was reading the compass while Julia was putting on sun cream. Okay, notice the while, we cannot use when here. I was reading the compass when Julia was putting on the sun cream. While, because this is the second part of the sentence is in a past continuous. So, putting, while. And number 5, we were sleeping in our tent. It started to rain. While we were sleeping in our tent, comma, it started to rain. We change the capital I to small I. And the second way, We were sleeping in our tent when it started to rain. So the second type of sentence doesn't have a comma. While we were sleeping in our tent, comma, it started to rain. And the second way, we were sleeping in our tent when it started to rain. No comma in the second form. I hope you have understood this clearly, students. Let's go on. If you haven't understood this, please make a note to ask me again when we are back in the classroom. Let's go on to exercise 4. Complete the text with the correct form of the verbs in brackets. Then listen and check. Okay, so let's do it the way they said. First, let's try to use the correct form of the verbs. Teenagers in canyon rescue. Emergency services rescued 2 teenagers, Nicholas Ramirez and Kendall Sendova, last night after a 3-day hunt in Falls Canyon, California. The teenagers were walking during the Easter holidays when they disappeared late on Tuesday night. So here we'll have to use the past continuous and here the past simple. It was raining heavily and there were high winds. So here past continuous. It was raining heavily and there were high winds. The teenagers didn't have any food or water. So simple past, didn't have any food or water. And they didn't carry, or they weren't carrying any dry clothes in their backpacks. So here, weren't carrying. So that will be the past continuous. They weren't carrying any dry clothes in their backpacks. They found a cave and stayed there for 2 nights. So simple past, number 7, number 8. They found a cave and stayed there for 2 nights. On the 3rd day, a local hiker saw them. They were sleeping in the cave. So here we use the past continuous because sleeping was something that was in progress. So they were sleeping in the cave. A rescue helicopter came to take them home. So here we use the simple past or the past simple. A rescue helicopter came to take them home. Now let's try doing it with the reading.
Listen and check.
Teenagers in canyon rescue. Emergency services rescued 2 teenagers, Nicholas Ramirez and Kendall Kendoya, last night after a 3-day hunt in Falls Canyon, California. The teenagers were walking during the Easter holidays when they disappeared late on Tuesday night. It was raining heavily and there were high winds. The teenagers didn't have any food or water, and they weren't carrying any dry clothes in their backpacks. They found a cave and stayed there for 2 nights. On the 3rd day, a local hiker saw them, They were sleeping in the cave. A rescue helicopter came to take them home.
Okay, students, now let's do it from the template. Let's write the correct answers. Okay, let's read on. Emergency services rescued two teenagers, Nicholas Ramirez and Kendall Kendoya, last night after a 3-day hunt in Falls Canyon, California. The teenagers were walking during the Easter holidays when they disappeared late on Tuesday night. It was raining heavily and there were high winds. The teenagers didn't have any food or water, and they weren't carrying any dry clothes in their backpacks. They found a cave and stayed there for 2 nights. On the 3rd day, a local hiker saw them. They were sleeping in a cave. A rescue helicopter came to take them home. Let's check our answers. Well done, all correct. Yes, we had good practice with this exercise. Now let's move on to your turn, and we can do this once we are back in the classroom. But in the meantime, you can practice. Write 6 questions. Use the words from the boxes and the past simple or past continuous. So, these are the WH questions. What, when, where, why. Substitute them with use the verbs and give a context. For example, you want to ask about last night, and you want to ask about do. So you will use, what did you do last night? Supposing you want to use the word come. Okay. When did you come to school? And your answer, at 8 a.m. So we can use the verbs and the WH questions to make simple questions and answers. For example, why were you sleeping during the English class? And I was tired. So past simple. Ask and answer with your partner. So maybe each student can prepare about 5 questions and 5 answers. Ask and answer with your partner. What were you doing yesterday at 8 a.m.? And the person answers, I was watching TV. So all these answers will be in the past simple. So we will practice this exercise once we are back in the classroom. Now let's move on to a listening, a radio program. The name of the program is Lucky Escapes. It is the story of Laurie, a Canadian teenager. Listen to the story of Laurie, a Canadian teenager, on a radio program called Lucky Escapes. What did she escape from and how?
Listen and answer. Our next incredible escape comes from Laurie Harris of British Columbia, Canada. In July 2012, Laurie and some friends were on a camping holiday in the forest. The weather was hot and dry, and they were enjoying the trip, but the fourth day was different.
Usually the birds sang, but that day there was silence. Then we saw smoke in the distance and realized there was a forest fire.
There are often fires in British Columbia, so Laurie and her friends didn't panic. They decided to go home. But it took them a long time to pack, and the fire moved fast.
We saw more and more smoke, and then we could see the fire. The wind was strong, and suddenly we felt frightened, so we left our things and started to walk down through the forest to the main road. We took food, water bottles, the map, and the compass, and I took my torch. I don't know why.
When the fire was only a few kilometers away, Laurie and her friends started running. Then Laurie had an idea. There was a river near their campsite, and she found it on the map.
It wasn't far, so we ran down and jumped in. We decided to use the river as a road to get out of the forest.
Luckily, the river wasn't dangerous, but it wasn't easy to walk or swim. Soon after they jumped in the river, the fire was all around them, but they were safe in the water. They stayed in the middle and slowly swam and walked all day. When it got dark, Laurie used the torch to look for rocks, and they had the map and compass to guide them too. Firefighters controlled the flames, and after 14 hours in the water, Laurie and her friends got to a town. Finally, they were safe.
Let's move on to answer the questions in exercise 4. Where is Laurie from? She's from Canada. When did the story happen? It happened in July 2012. Let's check our answers. It happened in July 2012. Why was Laurie in the forest? She was camping with her friends. So she was in the forest because she was camping with her friends. Because she was camping with her friends. Number 4. Why did they realize they were in danger? Why were they in danger? Because they didn't hear the birds. Everything was silent. And then they saw smoke. Because the birds were quiet and they saw smoke. Correct. Let's go on to number 5. What did they take with them? They took food, water, a map, a compass, and Laurie carried a torch. So they took food, water, a map, a compass, and a torch. Number 6. Why did they start running? Because they could see that the fire was coming closer. Because they could see the fire was close. Okay, let's move on to number 7. How did they find the river? They looked at the map. They looked at the map. How did they travel down the river? They walked and swam. Why was the torch useful? To see in the dark, to see the rocks in the dark. So the torch was useful to see because it was dark. Why was the torch useful? To see the rocks in the dark. And number 10. How many hours were they in the river? They were in the river for almost 15 hours. They were in the river for 15 hours. 14 hours before firefighters controlled the flames, and 1 more to reach the town. Okay, let's move on.
We're now going to do a review. Vocabulary: extreme weather. Match the words with the correct definitions. Let's do this in the template. Match the words with the correct definitions. Hail means small pieces of ice. Number 2, boiling. Very hot. Number 3, thunder. A loud crashing noise in a storm. Freezing. Very cold. Lightning. Flashes of electricity in the sky. And heavy rain. Very wet weather. Okay, let's check our answers. Well done. Let's go on to exercise 2. Survival essentials. Complete the sentences with the words in the box. The words are camera, torch, compass, sunglasses, penknife, map, sun cream, contact lenses, water bottle, and sleeping bag. Let's go to the template. Number 1. We'll have to use the compass to find the right direction. Number 2. Look at the, and that will help you plan your journey. Look at the map. Okay, you have to take the words from down and put them in the box. Number 3, take a so you can see in the dark. Take a torch. I've got a so we can take pictures. Camera. I've got a camera so we can take pictures. Number 5, you should use to protect your skin? You should use sun cream to protect your skin. Number 6. Do you use to help you see better or glasses? Do you use contact lenses to help you see better or glasses? Number 7. I always carry a to cut my food. Penknife. I always carry a penknife to cut my food. Don't forget to protect your eyes from the sun. Don't forget your sunglasses to protect your eyes from the sun. Number 9. We'll take a so that we are warm at night. We'll take a sleeping bag so we are warm at night. Have you got a water bottle to carry something to drink? Okay, let's check our answers. Well done. All correct. Okay, let's go to language focus. Present simple versus present continuous. Complete the mini conversations with the present simple or present continuous from the verbs in brackets. Let's do this in the template. First conversation. Is she doing her homework? The prompt is do homework. And yes, she is. Next, always do homework in her bedroom. Does she always do her homework in her bedroom? Does she always do her homework in her bedroom? Okay. Yes, she does. Next, what do he run a marathon? What is he doing? He's running a marathon. Next, how often does he train? He trains every day. Okay, let's go on to conversation 3. She read a book. Is she reading a book? Is she reading a book? No, she isn't. Next, does she like reading? Does she like reading? No, she doesn't. Okay, let's check our work first. Is she doing her homework? Yes, she is. Does she always do her homework in her bedroom? Yes, she does. What is he doing? He's running a marathon. How often does he train? He trains every day. Is she reading a book? No, she isn't. Does she like reading? No, she doesn't. Let's check our answers. Well done, all correct. Let's move on. Exercise 4. Past simple versus past continuous. Complete the text. Use the past simple or the past continuous form of the verbs in brackets. Let's look at the template. Narrow escape for mountain hikers. A group of hikers had a close escape when they were hiking in the mountains last Friday. At around midnight, I was looking at the stars when suddenly I saw a bright light in the sky. I didn't know what to do. The others were sleeping in their tents. So I woke them up and we all ran to our car and drove away as fast as possible, said Rob, one of the hikers. Fortunately, we escaped. Okay, let's check our paragraph once again. Narrow escape for mountain hikers. A group of hikers had a close escape when they were hiking in the mountains last Friday. At around midnight, I was looking at the stars when suddenly I saw a bright light in the sky. I didn't know what to do. The others were sleeping in their tents, so I woke them up and we all ran to our car and drove away as fast as possible, said Rob, one of the hikers. Fortunately, we escaped. Let's check our answers. Well done.
Students, now that we have completed our lesson for today, please go to Google Classroom to complete the assignment. Thank you.